Hey everyone, welcome to Back to Keto and Crime. I am back with what happened yesterday, Wednesday, May 29th, in the Chad Daybell case. I'm coming to you on Thursday, May 30th. Welcome if you are new here. My name is Tracy. I do true crime, dark history, and horror movie reviews. I also do a holiday tree. We are currently in for patriotic summer with the Memorial Day that just passed, the 4th of July, Labor Day. And then it will transition back to holidays within the fall. Probably Halloween will be the first one that it changes to after the summer. So with that being said, let's dive in. I've been covering the Chad Daybell trial, well, the case from the beginning. There's right at 200 videos about it on my channel, including complete summaries and reviews of books written by all these monsters, including all of Chad Daybell's books. So with that being said, I'm going to dive into what happened yesterday, which is the 29th of May. Yesterday, as we all knew what happened, the jury received the 40, why am I doing that? 41 instructions, 41 instructions for jury instructions, especially regarding a death penalty case. There had been some discussion about whether they were going to use the new death penalty jury case rules established by the Idaho Supreme Court on the 22nd of May. They did go over that. It just basically said that your reasonable doubt can not be some fantasy, an angel flies in and says that he's not guilty, things outside of the realm of normal possibilities. It could not be, Superman breaking through the table and telling you he's not guilty. It has to be with that beyond all the evidence that the state has presented. If you're still left with a solidified doubt that you just know he did not do that, or you have a doubt that he did not do that or she did not do that, you have to vote not guilty. So that's basically what it is. And then that took about an hour and a half. And then we got into the closing arguments. Lindsay Blake for the state was up first, and she went after Chad with an abandon. Lindsay Blake for president. I'm in love with that woman. Don't tell my wife. Just kidding. But she was just awesome. She started out with the famous jailhouse phone call between Lori and Chad on the day that they were searching for the bodies of the children. Started out with that phone call, and then a presentation that said money, power, sex. And she said that all of this was about those three things. And she took us through the timeline of the meeting of Chad and Lori, the James and Elena romance novel, the fact that they were forming this group with 𝗪𝗏 and Melanie and David and Melanie Palawowski and all of these things, and 𝗪𝗏's notes, how she took notes, and all the dark and light scale. That was a creation of Chad that Lori believed, and they all believed that no one else but Chad pegged people as dark. And then a little bit, even Lori asked Chad for advice. And then we talk about, when the timeline from which Charles Vallow was deemed as dark. First he was Ned, then he was another entity, then he was 𝗙𝗿𝗿. And all those castings were successful, according to the testimony and the notes in 𝗪𝗏's journal. But then the body had to die. And basically, it was decided that the body had to die when Charles began threatening to expose Lori and Chad's affair. When he threatened to reach out to Tammy Daybell, within 10 days, he was dead. And then they talk about Alex being the protector, the avenging angel. They show how, they go over the Charles Vallow thing, and then they talk about how we see the progression of Tylee being deemed as dark, and when her death percentage reached 0, she had to die. Her death percentage reached 0 around September 8th or 9th. Then she showed Alex Cox's travel on that day, and then the fact that her body was found right around where his locations triangulated on Chad Daybell's property. Then we show the slow progression of JJ being deemed as dark, and when Chad said that he was sitting across from JJ eating bacon and realized his body was not fully attached to his soul or his spirit, and his death percentage reached 0, that's when he died, around the 23rd or the 24th. And they talk about, you know, Alex bringing him in that night, sleep, and then the fact they were not able to see him the next day. And when David Warwick asked Lori where he was, she said, "Please don't ask." So, and then again, the movements of Chad and Alex's movements, the fact that Chad called Alex and then Alex went over the next location. Alex was on the Daybell property and his body was found right where those red dots triangulate. And then we talk about the lead up to Tammy being dark, and then the attempted shooting of Tammy, the fact that Lori got so upset and was yelling he can't do anything right, talking about Alex basically missing, or the gun misfiring, or not being able to fire, and then eventually her death on the 19th. And then they talk about all the financials, talking about how they seemed more interested in the money and what they were going to get. And then here we are. This is literally Chad Daybell was the mastermind. It was his theories that led to the death of all of these people, for the very reason that he was no longer in love with his wife. He wanted to be with Lori. He saw Tammy, JJ, and 𝗙lie as obstacles to that, and they had to be removed. Very simple: money, power, and sex. And she did a great job laying that over 2 hours. Then we took a lunch, and then we heard from Pryor, who took about an hour and 20 minutes-ish. And basically his whole thing was that this was all Lori Daybell's machinations. Yes, his client had an affair. Yes, his client was wrong, but this was all Lori Daybell's machinations. And basically he laid out this scenario where Lori and Alex did all of this on their own. They got rid of the children because Lori no longer wanted them. They buried them on Chad Daybell's property without his consent or knowledge. And as far as Tammy, they spun that into this convoluted explanation to me that Lori saw that as a way to get more life insurance money. It wasn't a hit on the shooting, was not a hit on Tammy. It was supposed to be a hit on Chad because he was the driver of the truck. Alex thought he was going to be shooting at Chad, and it was a way for Lori to get life insurance through Chad. But the one big hole in that, Mr. Pryor, is that they weren't married. Even if Alex had been gunning for Chad, if he had killed Chad, Tammy would have gotten any life insurance that he had, not Lori. So that whole explanation doesn't hold water. And it also doesn't explain why they would, why Tammy would suddenly be dead again, 10 days later. And then he had this whole convoluted explanation that 𝗙lie and JJ had to die because they were obstacles, and also because they had witnessed the death of Charles Vallow, and that could prove very problematic for Alex. But they didn't witness the murder of Charles Vallow. They were both in the car with Lori taking JJ to school. So again, that doesn't hold water. Yes, 𝗙lie witnessed an argument, but she did not witness the shooting. So none of those arguments, in my opinion, hold water, but he kept emphasizing one reasonable doubt. He is really hinging on, as often you do in a murder case, that just one of those holes he might have been able to poke will continue to be there, and they will have to vote not guilty by virtue of the law. So that's really what he's hoping. And then Lindsay Blake came back with about a 30-minute rebuttal, because the state does have an opportunity to patch after you've done that. And she just basically went after Pryor's points, pointing out that it was Tammy driving the Dakota. And again, they weren't married, so how could life insurance play into that if it was a hit on Chad? So then it went to the jury, and we are on jury watch. The jury did leave the courthouse to go in. They chose the 5 alternates, and then they swore in the deputies. Then court was adjourned. They were taken into the jury deliberation room, all 12 that would be deliberating, and they deliberated till almost 7 o'clock local Idaho time last night, and then they were dismissed. They are supposedly back in the deliberation room this morning at 8 a.m. Idaho time, which they're Mountain time, I'm Central time, so just in about 5 minutes, the jury should be coming back to continue deliberations, and we are on jury watch. As soon as I hear anything, I will try to go live if I possibly can, but I will be there with a reaction and letting you know what the verdict was. If it's guilty, and they also say there's aggravating circumstances, that is more than one murder victim, truly egregious mode of killing. Those are the two that hinge on this case. There are others, but those do not apply. If they come back with a guilty and that there was aggravating circumstances, then we will go into a death penalty phase of this trial where victim impact statements, defendant family statements can literally say why he should die or why he should live, and the jury will then deliberate again to make that decision. I don't know how long that will take if he is found guilty. But I will cover that daily, just like I've been doing. So that's where we are. We're officially on verdict watch. And until next time, keep doing crime.